U2 played many great concerts in in Amsterdam since the early 80s. In this tour, we're going to take you in a journey past all the venues that U2 played in Amsterdam. We're going to tell you some great stories about set lists, what they have eaten in Amsterdam, what they have done in the city, and how the local people here in the Netherlands responded to U2 playing in their capital. So enjoy the ride. Behind me is the Melkweg, translated as the Milky Way. This is actually quite a historic venue for U2, since, well, let me start at the beginning. So U2 played in the early days only in the UK and in Ireland. And at some point they made their way across the sea to the mainland of Europe. And Holland was actually the first country where they arrived and started to play shows. So on 14th of October 1980, U2 played a bit south of the Amsterdam in a town called Hilversum. They played a radio show for the KRO for less than 50 people. So they played a few songs and recorded for a radio broadcast. A day later, on the 15th, that radio broadcast got played. And actually Bono mentioned, tonight we're going to play the Melkweg. And actually that happened here. So this is the very first venue where U2 performed on the mainland of Europe for a crowd that actually paid for it. Let's put it that way. So that's quite historic already. So they played here a set of like 13 songs. 11 o'clock was played twice. And the Boy album was going to be released a week later. So it's quite very early in the U2 calendar, if you will. And there's not much known about, what the reception. It didn't go unnoticed by press. People were kind of impressed by U2. And actually, if you read in the book U2 by U2, actually Edge said, this is a great quote, of course, this was a great show. So I guess they're quite. So that was what happened down here at the Melkweg in 1980. U2's very first performance on the mainland of Europe. Behind me is the Paradiso. It's one of Amsterdam's most famous music temples. U2 played here, or band members of U2 were here 3 times. The first 2 times were in 1981. In February, U2 played here for the 3rd leg of the Boy tour. There's not much known about that set list. It's not actually, we don't even know which songs which songs they played. What we do know is that when they arrived in Amsterdam, Bono and the Edge did some music in the city. So Bono played piano on a bar. Back then that was all still possible. I guess it's a bit more difficult to do it nowadays. And they played here for 600 people. And actually the venue that they have a capacity of around 1,000, and they played for 600. And all we know is that U2, what the review was like, U2 put on a very strong performance for a moderately enthusiastic crowd. It didn't go unnoticed by Dutch press, so it was quite a good early day show, if you will. So that was the first time they played here. The second time was 9 months later in October. It was 30th of October, and it was the day before Larry's 20th birthday. And they arrived here, so they did sort of a tour of the Netherlands. So they played in Tilburg. There was the city in the south of Holland before, and they got a van, and with the van they drove from Tilburg to Amsterdam. And when they got in Amsterdam, this is of course the information you want to know when you're watching this tour, is they ate an omelette. They ate an omelette in Amsterdam. And because it was Larry's birthday, the day after at least, they did some shopping. So they went to a toy store and they got Larry one of those remotely controlled cars, like the radio steered cars. I'll tell you more about that a bit later. So then the show itself. So they played 15 songs, and during the show, actually, Bono mentioned Larry's birthday, and he joked that Larry was 16 the day, was going to be 16 the day afterwards. He was going to be 20. And at the end of the show, they started to sort of celebrate Larry's birthday. So even while they were still on stage, Larry sort of started toying around with his car, and he actually drove the car on the stage while the crew was still. They could still watch this and all, so they kind of enjoyed this. And then they went into town and they, well, quote, celebrated until very late for Larry's birthday. So there was quite a nice one of those birthday shows, you know. Those are kind of nice. So the day before Larry's birthday, they played here. So those were the two times U2 actually performed in this sort of famous Amsterdam venue. If only they will ever play here again. The third appearance was not necessarily a performance, or well, so in 1987 in January, the Dutch fan club held a U2 convention, a meeting here in this place. So people were trading like concerts, tapes, posters, all kinds of things. There were around 600 people, and in the course of the day there were some rumors already that Adam might appear at the convention. In the end, he did. So he appeared, and um, and at some point he was called on stage, and he accepted a gold record sort of for you and he mentioned in his speech that he thanked Holland for being one of the first countries where U2 enjoyed success. And then he went on and introduced a band called Tuesday Blues, which he said he was impressed by from TV. And in one of their songs they played Van Morrison's Gloria, and Adam actually went on and played bass with them for that song. So that was quite special. We actually have a photo of Adam performing with Tuesday Blues. So kind of you see him laughing and enjoying a lot. So there was Adam in his whole element back in January '87. So he did that, and after the show he took around 30 more minutes to pose with fans, talk with fans, take some pictures, and all of that. So yeah, there was quite a special appearance by Adam here in the Paradiso. And actually, one thing that I forgot to show you, and we'll show it to you now, is actually a picture of Larry with his toy from his birthday. So here you can see Larry. Look at this big smile with the truck or car, what is it, in front of him. So you can see the band really enjoyed their days here. So that went all down at the Paradiso. We're here in front of the Rai Europa Hall. For the Love Town tour, U2 obviously had to play the Netherlands for the European leg. From the beginning it was quite normal that they would have played Rotterdam, which back then had the best arena venue. However, U2 sort of insisted that they wanted to play the capital. So then they went to look for a venue, and this is the venue that they turned out to choose, the Rai Europa Hall. Not really made for concerts. The Stones played here way back when, but they did. And I actually have someone here with me who actually was there at that show. Well, U2 was supposed to play 3 shows. So in December, 3 shows. The last shows before the closing of the tour in their hometown Dublin. And Rainier, who's with me, he was at that one show that they actually played, because they didn't play 3. Let's start. How could you get tickets for this show? It's kind of different, right? Than now.
Yeah, what I can remember is that a friend of mine who I knew from church had 2 tickets, and everybody was asking for the second ticket, but not me. I hardly knew the band. I just barely knew the Joshua Tree album. So instead of asking somebody else, he invited me, and I was the lucky one who got access to the show. So that's how I got my ticket.
That's how you got to your first concert.
My first concert ever, yes. And I was addicted.
And you were addicted. This is the start, and now he's here. So many years later. So one other thing that is, before we can start talking about the show, which was quite special as well, or in history, from a historical perspective, is that so it wasn't a concert venue. So they actually built up the stands, and what they did for the floor is they actually divided the floor into 2 sections, separated by a barrier. And the first section, what we now would call front of stage, sort of first come, first serve. And all those that got into this area, they got a wristband, which allowed them to go back and forth into this area. And this was actually the first time that U2 did something like that in a concert. The whole wristband and separation. It worked so well for them that they decided to apply it for many years to come, and still we see it on even this tour, the whole wristband thing and allowing you to come back and forth into a certain area. It all started here actually, so it was quite special. Show wise, so it started normally. It started with Hawkmoon actually. Hawkmoon, its only performance outside of in Europe, outside of Australia, and its last performance ever of Hawkmoon was played on that December day. And then sort of problems started to happen. Bono already had some voice problems which sort of became apparent in the shows before this one. I think it was Dortmund and in Paris, and this show it sort of went really bad. And do you remember anything from those voice problems that he had?
No, not much, but it, it, it was not a lot of songs I remember, and his throat got worse and worse, and he couldn't just sing along. So after
It particularly manifested itself during, for instance, God Part 2, where he grabbed his throat and he was really angry with himself, angry that he couldn't perform the way he wanted to do. He was grabbing his throat, he was throwing his mic on the floor, it ended with a big bang, and he was sort of screaming his way into the song. It didn't really work. It was sort of clear that this was sort of the end, and then he let, I believe, the crowd sing sort of New Year's Day. They went into Pride, and they sort of struggled their way into the encore. And then during the encore break, there was a decision to be made, like, do we actually continue with this show? And they decided they couldn't. Bono's voice was just gone. They couldn't continue. They got back nevertheless. They played 40. Whereas normally for the Love Town tour they would have come back and played with the BB King band to play Angel of Harlem, Love Rescue Me. They played 40, and after that it was done. The concert was over, and Bono said, "This is now a free concert. Keep on to your tickets." And some promoter came on stage, and he actually told us, "Well, stick to your tickets. The concert has ended. It's all free." And it ended. It's actually the only show for the Love Town tour without the BB King band, and I think the only show even that was abrupted during the show, like ended prematurely. Which made it quite special. And they had 2 more dates in this venue, so they both got cancelled. They were actually the day after and the day after that, and they got replaced with 4 shows in Rotterdam in January. So the tour didn't end in Dublin like it was supposed to on New Year's Eve, but it ended in Rotterdam. So they actually went to play Rotterdam. So what was do you remember anything about what happened to you ticket holders?
Well, what I remember the most is the ending of 40. Everybody was singing and kept on singing like I didn't know what was happening, and I thought it was quite special. And after the show we had to send in our tickets, and or you get your money back, you get a refund, or you were into a lottery for the shows in January of the next year. So I didn't get lucky, I got my money back, so it really was a free show for me. But I rather had the show in Rotterdam.
There weren't enough, so they did 4 replacement shows for the 3 here, but even that didn't make up for all the people that would have had tickets for this show. So they actually had to do sort of a lottery thing to allow fans to get to the replacement show or not, and some weren't as lucky as others, and couldn't go to any replacement show for various reasons. So yeah, the show here, just the one, was quite special from a historical perspective. There is a recording of the show. It's nice to listen to, but Bono's voice was gone, and I showed it ended before it was supposed to end. That was here in the Rai Europa Hall. So there's one venue which we didn't visit on our tour, but still I would like to mention. So in November 2011, Bono appeared at the Muziekgebouw aan het IJ. It's the main hall for contemporary classical music. It's in the north of Amsterdam, near the IJ, a body of water. And he appeared there to play with the Metropole Orchestra, to play in honor of Anton Corbijn, who you all know, of course, the Dutch photographer. And he played one with the orchestra, with a snippet of Anthem by Leonard Cohen. And then he recited the song called Get Lost by Dutch artist Herman Brood, who passed away in 2001. So it's one of the various dates that U2 played here in Amsterdam. Hey everyone, it's our second to last stop. We're at the Ziggo Dome in Amsterdam. It's the biggest arena we have here in the Netherlands. For the last tour that U2 played here, the Innocence Experience tour, there were 17,000 fans. U2 played 4 shows, and well, as you know by now, Amsterdam shows are kind of special, and the Ziggo Dome was no exception. So the first show, U2 played Two Hearts Beat as One, which was like the second performance of the tour. It was quite special. No one expected it, even though it was the second stop in Europe of that leg. The second show U2 pulled Gloria setlist wise. It was only the first performance of Gloria in Europe since 1990. So imagine us Dutch U2 fans going crazy with the sounds of Gloria, a song from way back when. And the last show, and you'll hear this in our next stop when we're at the Amsterdam arena. But the last show, we expected something special, and the band sort of delivered. So the band played. Let me see. Magnificent. It's only the tour debut of Magnificent, and it was not the normal version. So they played sort of like a funky version. It was sort of a tryout. Does this work here on the E stage? We all thought it worked, but U2 apparently didn't. So I think they only played it like once afterwards. And they ended with Bad and 40, which up until then wasn't played a lot on the Innocence Experience tour. And for 40, it was actually the first performance of 40 in Europe since 2005, so in 10 years. And actually, to many U2 fans, 40 is of course the song to end the show. Our royals were also present at the last show, the King and Queen. And one other interesting fact is that while U2 was in their Amsterdam residency for the Innocent Experience tour, they did a side trip with Anton Corbijn to the dunes around The Hague. And this is where they actually shot, and when they shot the photo that they used for the Joshua Tree 2017 tour that is on the album, and that is also used for the promo materials. All the posters you can now see around towns all over the world. That photo was shot here in the Netherlands. So yeah, that all happened in that 1 week in the Netherlands, and I think the Ziggo Dome is the place where U2 will go if they will play arenas again in the Netherlands. Our last stop, the Amsterdam Arena, the venue where U2, well, for now, will play for the Joshua Tree 2017 tour. It's called the Arena. It's actually a stadium, but it has a retractable roof. They always close it during concerts, mostly to improve the sound. U2 played here 2 times before the Joshua Tree tour. They played here in 2005. They did 3 shows for the Vertigo tour. And on the 3rd show, U2 kind of changed things. It was in the middle of the European leg, and this is where they sort of changed things. Some changes even permanent. So this is where they debuted, for instance, Miss Sarajevo. It replaced Running to Stand Still, which had its last performance on that tour as well in this stadium. It had its last ever electric performance of Who's Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses. Pretty special. I was there. It was amazing, and if I would know now that it was last performance, I would have maybe even enjoyed it more than I did. It was the last show again, and last show's special. And one thing that I particularly remember from that show is that during Beautiful Day there was this, Dutch guys are always, I have an exception here, but are generally quite tall. And there was this guy, he must have been like 2 meters, and he came out of to the stage during Beautiful Day, and he lifted Bono like this, like it was just a little baby. And Bono kind of enjoyed it. He was like, and the guy was even walking and running around with Bono around the stage. It was quite funny. And Bono even mentioned it during Beautiful Day, like, big man right in front of you. Well, a big man it was. So it was a particular thing which I remember from those shows, at least. Those are actually my first U2 shows, if I talk personal experiences here. Then, 4 years later, 2009 360 tour, U2 played 2 shows here as well in July. All the shows that U2 played here were in July. And second show again, they sort of changed it all up. Even 3 songs made their tour debut on that show. Elevation, Until the End of the World, and what was the third one again? It was Bad. So 3 songs made their debut. So we didn't see that coming. So that was pretty special. We had a Drowning Man snippet even. I don't even remember that, but I'm sure we had. And well, it stopped raining now, and the good thing is that there's a roof here, so that helps with these concerts. And actually, this is the biggest venue that, like attendance-wise, that U2 plays here in Amsterdam, and I think for 2009 there were like 60,000 people that were in this venue for each night, and tickets were sold in like 15 minutes, which is quite fast here in the Netherlands, and only a one example of how popular U2 actually is in the Netherlands, which they have been playing now for many years. So yeah, that's the Amsterdam Arena. U2 will play here for tomorrow and Sunday, 2 shows for the Joshua Tree tour. Who knows what that will bring? If we look like past experiences, we can sort of expect or hope for the second show to be their most special one. But we'll see. Time will tell. Last stop of our little Amsterdam tour. We hope you liked it. I did for sure. It's great to see so many places where my band has played here in this small town of Amsterdam, and I hope there will be many more to come.